F1 update with Sasha Martinengo.
It is time to talk Formula One, and Gary Formato, of course, is here with us. What an epic Canadian Grand Prix. And Gary, it's something, we've come to expect. We get lucky with the Canadian Grand Prix. It's it's a special place.
It is. I mean, we've seen some great racing over the years, and going into last night's race, we thought, okay, well, it's going to be a battle between the two Mercedes drivers. But I mean, as it turned out, I don't think anybody would have expected it. I mean, it was just fantastic. And I mean, just like wow is the word. I mean, it's exactly what Ricciardo said when we got out. It was just wow, and it was great. I mean, that's when Formula One gets it right, like it did last night. There is nothing better in motorsports.
There's nothing. I couldn't agree more. Now, there is a written rule in Formula One and in motorsport, and that is, do not take your teammate out. Now, listen, it does happen, and we've seen it before. But when the guys are running at the back of the field, it is sacrilege to do something like that. The first corner, I tell you, Lewis and Nico drove exceptionally well. They could have taken each other out very, very easily. But in the first lap, Jules Bianchi and Max Chilton, in the most underfunded team, come off the glory of Monaco. And Chilton just messed it up for both of them, unfortunately.
Well, that was an absolute mess. As you just said, I mean, those teams want to be there at the end of Grand Prix, and they can get lucky like that in Monaco. So to throw it away like that, Chilton, I think, just slid into Bianchi. Yeah. And the worst part about it was that it actually turned out to be quite a horrible accident. I mean, that car's badly
destroyed.
Damaged. Yeah. Gearboxes, possibly even the chassis, who knows. But it's major damage. So, I mean, it's just a total mess for a team like
And also, but I was quite amazed how that car just crumpled.
Yeah.
Because when the first shot of it, you saw that car in the middle of the track completely destroyed, and you went, wow, this is a big one. Somebody going through turn 3 or 4 and losing it. But when you saw Chilton hit him, but just shows you how fast his car's actually going.
Well, exactly. I mean, you don't realize, even at that point in the race where they've got full tanks and the car should be slow in those corners. I mean, they really are quick cars. And look, they're designed to crumble and impact, when they have an accident. Yeah. But I mean, you just saw the carbon fiber and everything else that was on that car just flying all over the place. And yeah, it was huge. It was bigger than you sort of expect. But also, this the angle and where it was. Take that all into consideration. It shouldn't be happening where it happened. If it didn't touch, it would never have happened.
Now, there were a couple of things that are very interesting to discuss about this Grand Prix. Vettel had a great start, managed to get in between the two Mercs. You sat there and went, well, what is he going to do? Is he going to try and fight against the Mercs, or is he going to sit there and say, listen, you Oaks go and carry on the fight, and I'll just sit there and hopefully pick up one or two pieces? And it brings the very, very debatable point now. The two Mercs yesterday, yes, they got software problems, and we'll get to that in a short while. But they had brake problems. Are they pushing each other too hard, Gary?
Well, I tell you what, you've got to commend the team for allowing them to have a go like they are. Because, I mean, if you were the team manager, Niki Lauda, Toto Wolff, it's a guarantee that one of your cars is going to win. I mean, it's a prime case for team order saying, listen, guys, I'm paying Lewis €25 million, and Nico, I'm paying you 9. So I know this is nothing about a number one in the contract, but I think you can work it out for yourself.
Yeah.
Let's get the thing done. But they've let the guys race, and you've got to say thanks to them, because it's given us excitement. Now we're waiting to see what's going to happen between Lewis and Nico. We know that little friendship that they talk about is not going to last that long. And the first corner, I think, was evident of that. I mean, Rosberg used all the road, as he's entitled to do, but he took no prisoners, and there's no love lost, that's for sure.
Oh, that's for sure. I mean, if you watch that very closely in that first corner, he gave the bare minimum amount of space and basically left it up to Lewis and said, Lewis, if you hit me, you're the one who's going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
End of story. And Lewis had to avoid, went onto the grass a little bit, allowed Vettel to come through. But then once Lewis got past, then there was some fantastic racing. I mean, there was great racing behind as well, but you saw those two Mercs going for it. And then, Gary, something I've never, ever seen before happen. Both cars on the same lap have the same problem.
Yeah.
I mean, you're sitting there going, conspiracy theories are going, they've been hacked. Google's got in there. Somebody's done something. But it was extraordinary, bizarre.
It was amazing. Look, obviously it had to do with the temperature, so you probably assume that both cars, whatever was happening at that point in time for that unit, was the temperatures were at breaking point for them, and they packed up. But I mean, the amazing thing is, for a lot of people that don't know, I mean, it's electric braking now. So you had your fly-by-wire throttle, which comes out on most market cars and so forth these days. But the brakes work in the same fashion nowadays. So, if you have a computer glitch, you've got no brakes. And that's kind of what happened in a nutshell, with the thing overheating and whatnot. So, very scary stuff. And, just very disappointing for the team. But as you said, it gets back to, are they pushing each other too hard? Were they generating too much heat in the brakes? What else do they do? They've been allowed to race. They've got to go. That's it.
I think also, this is one of the most difficult circuits when it comes to brakes. We've seen it in the past. Many years ago, I think Williams were even disqualified because their brake ducts were too big.
Yes.
So we always knew that they were going to have a couple of issues. One thing that is a little bit debatable and talking point as well, Nico Rosberg missed the chicane at turn 13. Lewis wasn't in a position to challenge, but the pressure made that happen. I agree. There's no reason he should have been given a penalty, but it made all of a sudden Lewis have to go and chase again.
Yeah, it did. And look, those are the small things that you kind of never really got a grip on. It's things do change slightly sometimes, or decisions change, but that's what it was. But yeah, just the pushing. That's what it comes down to, because you do use more of the car whenever you're pushing, and you. As I said, when you Mercedes, you've got cars that are going to win the races. Do you have to push them that hard? And I think this decision, the luck is that nobody else is challenging them for the championship.
Yeah.
So whether it goes one driver's way or the next, and right now it's swung back into Rosberg's corner quite well for himself. But you don't want to have a situation where you start losing cars and other people start taking points from you. It depends. If the Red Bull speed up, I think calls are going to need to be made at some stage.
Yeah, that is for sure. Do you think Lewis lost the race? Because after the pit stops and Rosberg came out, he got a little bit stuck in traffic. Lewis came out ahead of him, but then all of a sudden made that mistake and outbraked himself, and all of a sudden Rosberg got underneath him, and that also just shows that Lewis is also very easily pressurized.
Well, you know what? Yes, for sure, there's pressure, but I think it also just shows you how on the edge that they are driving those cars. And it's a slight outbreak here, you run wide and your teammate goes past you. It's sort of like kart racing, it's not normal Formula One stuff. So I think it's great that we have it like it is. But yeah, I think it'll go down as one of those seasons where we're going to see the massive rivalry. A lot of people say, well, the Senna sort of Prost days of McLaren. I think in a different way, but something very, very similar. And this is only the beginning. I think when it starts to get to the sharp end of the championship,
for sure.
These sort of mistakes, the wheel-to-wheel racing, I think it's going to start getting a little bit. It's going to get better for us as a show, that's for sure.
It's going to get very, very hairy. And then Lewis Hamilton, brake problems, had to retire from the race. You sat there and said, well, Nico, you got this one in the bag, but he was encountering problems. And all of a sudden, Gary, we had 5 cars within 2 seconds of each other going for an unlikely win over the Mercedes. And it was just, it was amazing. The last time we saw 5 cars within 2 seconds of each other crossing the line was quite a while.
Yeah, look, it was great. Firstly, just with the Hamilton thing going off of that last chicane, it was actually quite a hairy move, and I think he got away with something there that he managed to miss Rosberg and slow down enough to get going. But as you said, then it just stacked up, and it's nothing better to see 5 cars in that lead pack. And Rosberg, I think, was doing a great job at that point in the race. He didn't have a car that was quick, but really did well. It was in the clean air. And then you had obviously the Red Bulls, Perez. Everybody was they could smell that there was a chance to win a race yesterday. And you could just see it. Everybody was going for it. Massa came in for that, elected to change the tyres eventually, drove up to the back of everybody. But you could see he was trimmed out. He couldn't stay close to Red Bull in the corners, and he lost that drive, even though he had the stronger engine in the straight. But everybody was just going for it. It was great stuff.
It was just amazing. And I was sitting there and going, come on, Perez, you're not going to have another chance like this. But the problem is what people don't understand. Perez's tyres were so old.
Yes.
He did 41 laps on the first stint. His tyres were old. He's also got a Merc engine in the back there. He was pushing as hard as he can. And by pushing so hard, he was braking a little bit later. Those brakes were going.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you had the 2 Red Bulls in the mix. And Ricciardo's move to get past Perez was one of the moves of the weekend.
It was great. That's the move that worked out, and Massa's didn't particularly work out. But just to put people in light here, when you're following cars, you lose that downforce, and that's why the cars slide around more, and it uses your tires up more. That's why the brakes overheat more. Obviously, not getting the same amount of air. So, as you said, Perez, the job he was doing, just holding on to that car and keeping him. You're doing a double job there, chasing the guy in front of you and keeping people
Yeah.
behind you. It's very difficult to do. So it was great that he was being able to do that.
Yeah, Ricardo managed to get through on Perez in turn one, and then from there it was amazing because the Renault up the main straight just ran out of revs, could not pass anybody else. But
Yeah.
with the Merc not having really the power, I think Rosberg was also told, listen, just bring it home, get the points.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you've lost one car. Don't throw away unnecessary points. Just get the car to the end. A perfectly normal call from Mercedes' part. But I think Ricciardo, for me, I mean, look, he's had a great season. And, yesterday he beat Sebastian Vettel. And that's who you've got to compare him to.
Exactly.
Fair and square in the race. I mean, the strategy call at the beginning, bringing him out, getting him out of the traffic, getting him onto a circuit where he had clean air, he could put in the lap times, look after his tyres. That was a stroke of genius by the team, and whoever made the team a call on his wall. And I mean, basically took him past Sebastian Vettel in the pits, put him right up into that position where he could win a race. And I mean, that to me has just been amazing. I mean, he has, for me, been the revelation of the season.
I couldn't agree with you more, Gary, because I mean, I sat there and went, at the Toro Rosso, him and Verne, they were pretty close. You sat and went, can he step up to the big league? I must say, pleasantly surprised. I think Ricciardo, he's shown me, wow, don't judge these kids who might be in the minnow teams too quickly.
No, exactly. And I think it puts guys like Jules Bianchi in a very good light. I mean, everybody knows the cars they've got, but it just shows you these youngsters out there do have talent. But Ricciardo, I mean, he's really now stamping it down, taking a victory. And I think Vettel is worried about it. Obviously on the podium, he didn't look too concerned about all of it, but I think he's now got his work cut out for him. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, we'll talk about the podium, but the incident, the last lap, I mean,
yes.
we had Ricardo who was in the front, we had Rosberg, and then there was this massive fight that was going on. We had Massa, we had Perez, we had Vettel, and all of a sudden, that was one big crash, and thankfully both of them are okay.
Well, it was huge, and you only appreciate the speed of a Formula One car when you see them have accidents like that, unfortunately. I mean, they are quick, and they're open-wheel cars, and you saw what happened. Perez moved slightly, I think, too far to the left, going into that left-hander. I think a little bit of a late defending move, if you like. Massa had committed to going up the inside. They was going to have a go, and they touched, and we saw the result. I mean, it was huge. I mean, you don't see accidents like that all the time.
Yeah.
The fact that they both walked away, it's great, and it's down to the modern safety features that the cars have on them, and the tracks and all the rest of it. But I mean, it's still a mega sport, and when you see that, it brings back some of the stuff that people say that Formula One may have lost by being too safe and all that kind of stuff. I don't think it is at all.
No, not at all. And but it was just an extraordinary race. Vettel also, his reaction time, the way that he managed to sit there and see this huge accident going around him. He was sandwiched basically in the middle, and how lucky he was not to be taken out by Massa.
Well, I mean, here's the deal. So you're racing at 300 k's an hour. You've got two mirrors that are smaller than your cell phone.
Yeah.
And you're chasing somebody in front of you. You're braking for the corner, which is like almost through a right-hander into a left-hander, and then still have the capacity to look into those little mirrors and see two people, not just one of them, but two sort of bombs coming towards you at the same time. So, I mean, he just managed to place the car right. I think he had a bit of luck on his side, but still, you need to be aware of what's going on around you, and kept himself out of trouble. That could have been an almighty accident had Vettel got involved.
Yeah, thankfully everyone okay. Just to let you know, Perez has been given a five-place grid penalty for Austria. Max Chilton, a 3-place grid penalty for Austria as well. But Gary, great to see Mercedes beaten. Great to see this youngster Danny Ricciardo up there on the top podium. And in a way, also great to see Renault up there sort of trying to take the fight to Mercedes, because if you look at the other teams or the other manufacturer, Ferrari, a woeful, shocking weekend.
Yeah, if you're a Ferrari fan, it's all, look, you get to the point where you say, oh, well, that's what it is. And we've heard the same story from Ferrari, let's be honest, for the last couple of years, with Fernando Alonso trying to consolidate, score points, keep himself in the game till the end. But the car is just way too slow now. And it's just very disappointing that a team like Ferrari's got it so wrong for everybody concerned there. So, I just don't believe Fernando Alonso will be in that team for much longer. I don't think he can accept what Ferrari are giving him. And, I mean, if you're a Ferrari fan, you're kind of waiting for the next sort of renaissance, actually, because it's not going to take 2 ticks to sort this out. This is going to be a couple of years of sorting, but it needs to at least get onto the right track now to see them into some more good times.
Yeah, that's for sure. Gary, a brilliant race. We go to Austria next, We haven't been there for many, many years. It's a completely redesigned A1 ring. Red Bull have just won. It's the home of Red Bull. It should be another extraordinary weekend.
Well, it should be. I mean, all I can say is let's hope that Renault are now super motivated by this last result, and they're going to go out there, give the Red Bull the engine that they need to compete. Once they've got that engine working, the fight is definitely on at the front.
Yeah, unbelievable stuff. There we go. That is our look at the Canadian Grand Prix. It really was something very, very special. And we hope that the rest of the season continues that way.
Gears. GearsOnBalls.co.za. Weekdays 1 p.m. to 3 p.m.